So we've come to an end of Geneva Watch Days. It's been a beautiful fair this week. But, of course, what is a fair without Zach's favorites, right? We got to dig into what my favorite watches we've seen so far, or really we've seen everything we could see because the festival's over, the fair's over. But strangely enough, there were manufacturers who are not part of Geneva Watch Days that even introduced their own novelties. So we're going to have a bit of a blend because, to be fair, they were exciting stuff. So let's get right into it. Number 5, the Orris Divers 65 12-hour bezel caliber 400. Look, we're always interested in affordable, or at least luxury affordable dive watches. So with an in-house powered caliber, the caliber 400, not only does it pack 5 days of power reserve, okay, 120 hours, but it's backed by a 10-year warranty. There's really no brands that do a 10-year warranty besides Orris. It's just absolutely incredible that they back its performance that strongly. 40mm case under profile, and as its name suggests, the 12-hour bezel. So really, instead of a timing scale, which most of us don't really use, it can actually be utilized for a second time zone. So it's a very interesting and really usable, versatile watch. Hard to beat. Coming in at number 4, not part of Geneva Watch Days, but it's so cool we just have to talk about it. It's the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Perpetual Calendar in blue ceramic. The color, it's just such a bold look, and we're used to AP being very traditional. They've explored ceramic before, but this might be their boldest color yet. It's incredible how we're very accustomed to the traditional hand finishes that they do, to the steel cases of the past. The fact that they can translate that finish over to ceramic is just so difficult and incredible that they can do. With its ultra-thin caliber 5134, the watch is able to be just a mere 9.5 millimeters thick. And of course, this is a high complication, all packed into this 41mm case. For those that don't know, perpetual calendar such as this displays the week, the day, the date, the astronomical moon, month, leap years, hours, and minutes. So you'll know exactly where you are in the year every time you look at your wrist. And the movement, packing in all this complication, has a 40-hour power reserve. But it's automatic, so don't worry. As long as you wear it, you don't have to worry about setting that perpetual calendar. Although, you're probably going to want to keep it on a winder. It's just such a cool watch. And look, price upon request, we know it's going to be quite a bit of damage on the wallet, but for those lucky enough to buy it, I'm sure it's well worth it. Coming in at number 3 is the watch that makes me wish I was working in hedge funds, okay? Unfortunately, I don't have the budget for it, but in a different life, I would totally go for the MBNF Evo Split Escapement, okay? This new watch that we have, there was previous limited editions made for the UAE, but now we have a watch that we can actually get our hands on in stores if you have the budget for it. It has a beautiful icy blue dial with gray registers that really complement the dial color. And look, as beautiful as it is from the dial side, when you flip it over, it's equally as gorgeous. With a hand-finished movement, really nice striping, beautiful chamfers to the bridges, and the sort of anthracite color treatment to the movement gives it that futuristic look that all MBNF watches need to have. On the dial, you'll find the hours, minutes, date, and power reserve indicators, so it's clean and simple, and you'll always know when you need to top it off with a wind. The watch clocks in at a deceptively large size based on the numbers, 44 millimeters in diameter and 17.5 millimeters thick. But let's be clear, this grade 5 titanium case has very compact lugs that camber really well around the wrist. So it's really more wearable than you'd think. And considering its material, it's very light on the wrist too. So it's not gonna feel like you have a giant paperweight on your wrist either. And 80 meters of water resistance for a watch this sort of complex is just, it's a total daily wearer, even at its level, at its caliber. This manually winding caliber has 298 components with 2 barrels that provide 72 hours of power reserve. So it's a totally weekend-proof watch. Now, is this the kind of watch that's gonna fit really easily under a cuff? No. But to be fair, with its dome crystal that's gonna prevent it from really going under the sleeve, at least not very easily, why would you want it to go under a sleeve? You're just gonna wanna keep looking at the watch, and you're gonna want everybody else to see it too. So, really no big deal. Coming in at number 2, look, I am by no means accusing them of trying to hijack the fair, but let's face it, it really probably was the biggest news of the week. Tudor made big waves with the Pelagos 39. As somebody who has quite a slender wrist, the Pelagos in 42 millimeters, the original, it's a bit too large for me. I can pull it off, but it's not necessarily ideal. Now we have it in a much more tame 39 millimeter case that's 11.9 millimeters thick. And for those asking, because I've gotten so many DMs since we've done our hands-on video, the lug width is 21 millimeters. So look, I wouldn't explore aftermarket straps, but there's the measurement for you in case you need it. We have what people were debating, will it work, will it not work? I've seen it, it looks great. You have a satin sunray ceramic bezel, a black insert, as well as a black sunray satin dial. Now, it might seem a little dressy for a dive watch, but at the end of the day, it really is subtle. You have to have like a full sunbeam really hitting it to get that sort of dressier look on the dial. Speaking of the dial, we have no date, ladies and gentlemen, okay? No date. So for the dial purists out there, you don't have to worry about the date window breaking up the symmetry of the dial. And looking down at 6 o'clock, vintage Rolex lovers are gonna love the fact that we have the Pelagos text in red. And it's also only 4 lines of text, so it's not too text crazy on the dial. Please do not come after Tudor. Now, it's a grade 2 titanium case that's 200 meters water resistant, protected by a screw down crown. And inside, you have the manufacturer caliber MT5400 that's been utilized in the Black Bay 58 silver and Black Bay 58 18 karat gold, giving you 72 hours of power reserve, high resistance against magnetism with a silicon hairspring, and of course, cost certified. So highly accurate, running within -4 + 6 seconds per day, but Tudor regulates it even more, so it'll be even more accurate. Sometimes with offerings, you have to wonder, do I buy it on the bracelet? Do I buy it on the strap? Well, with the Tudor Pelagos, it's all bundled in. You get both the bracelet and the rubber strap. Now, the bracelet doesn't have the patented extension system of the original Pelagos, but it does have a different extension system that we all really were happy to see when it first debuted. The T-Fit clasp extension will allow you to not only extend the watch over a dive suit, but for someone like me who's really nitpicky about fit, you can fine-tune it the same way I do with my Submariner with Glide Lock. Look, I'm not putting on a wetsuit anytime soon, but between winter and summer, as my wrist fluctuates in size, it's really nice to be able to, without taking a link out or putting one in, to make sure I have the perfect fit for my wrist. Now, I'm also really typically a guy who likes to wear my dive watches on a bracelet, but the rubber strap really is nice as well. It's super soft, but clearly rugged and tough. It's not gonna rip or tear, you know. You can really put it under battle and stress. And on the underside of the rubber strap, the gripping is actually done in the style of the snowflake handset. Now, it's not only pretty to look at on the underside of the strap, but that sort of snowflake handset gripping that's on the underside will actually help keep the watch still on your wrist. The Tudor Pelagos 39 is very legible, whether during the day or, as I jested before in our hands-on, when you're reaching way down into a dark desk drawer. So, the ceramic insert, the full timing scale, is completely luminous with superluminova. And as you move into the dial, you have ceramic composite monoblock applied indices akin to what we see on the Tudor Pelagos 42. And these are all luminous as well, and they have some depth to it. They're not flat. And of course, the snowflake handset. Each of the central hands, all 3, have luminous coatings as well. As we saw in the original Pelagos 42, the case with the Pelagos 39 is made in titanium. It's really lightweight on the wrist. Now, look, I don't necessarily suggest that people play a sport like I do, like tennis with a mechanical watch on, but when I do, I always go lightweight. I've played with my Doxocarbon on the tennis court, as well as my Zenith Night Surfer. So I can really attest to the fact that the lightweight feel, while it may not be as luxurious as 904L stainless steel, really is better for daily wear and activities, because when I'm swinging a racket, I don't need the extra weight on my wrist. Now, big question is, what's number 1? Well, the watch at Geneva Watch Days that I think really stunned us the most, and it's not the first time this brand has done this, where they've really captivated audiences worldwide, is Bulgari with the Octofanissimo Sejima edition. Now, the Japanese architect who Fabrizio collaborated with was really enamored with the invisible train in Japan. And this train is, to my understanding, entirely sort of mirror polished, the entire train car. And so as it's zipping through the landscape, it's almost like it's not even there, right? Because it's just reflecting the nature around it. And that's exactly what this watch does, because the bracelet, the case, and even the dial are entirely mirror polished. Let me tell you, this was not an easy watch to shoot. And to add a little more texture and intrigue, you don't want to interrupt the polished surface of the dial, so what they've done instead is they've etched a texture and pattern into the sapphire crystal. You have your off-centered seconds like you normally have on the Finissimo, and your central handset for the hours and minutes. It's not always the most legible, but this is a very highly artistic piece, and to be clear, you'll have no problem reading the time. So for watch lovers who really want a strong emotional connection, who want something more than just your run-of-the-mill daily wearer, this is a watch that will get everybody excited when you're at your next watch meetup, when you're at a party. It really is a very dynamic watch. And with 100 meters of water resistance, no complaints whatsoever. Now, dimensions. You have a 40 millimeter case. The lug to lug, if I'm not mistaken, is about 46 millimeters, but with its sort of octagonal square case, it does appear larger than perhaps it really fits. And the ultra thin caliber inside with a platinum micro rotor, ooh la la, allows the watch to be super thin at just a hair above 6 millimeters thick. Look, I know I'm stressing the thinness of the movement, but I'm just trying to provide context for the fact that, yes, it has a full balance bridge for shock resistance, and it somehow manages to even pack in 60 hours of power reserve. So that's nearly weekend proof. We're just a little off by 12 hours, but 60 hours of power reserve for a caliber so thin, it's really incredible. One thing I love about Octofanissimo watches across the board is how the clasp, the folding arm, sinks into the bracelet. So again, with a very thin watch, it's so crucial to not add any unnecessary thickness where possible. And with this beautiful clasp design, it keeps everything flat, top and bottom. So you're probably wondering, how many pieces of the Sejima will actually be made? Well, only 360. So better call Bulgari soon, because I imagine this watch is going fast out the door. Stay tuned for more on the Time+Tide channel. As always, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell icon, all that good stuff. And as I like to say at the end of these videos, I'll see you on the next one.